get your media.
Daryl, a few minutes after work, after the show, just a few?
Possibly.
Okay,
If
not
you're really
long.
nice, if you really do a good job.
Or if I walk out of the building with you.
Okay, you got that going? Let's go over to media. Is your media lined up? Ooh, we've got file not found. None of those are there. Is it working okay for you? Okay, I don't know what you're doing there. Let's you're clicking that little arrow there, and it's making it a large deal. Let's pull that down. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Future of Real Estate, Tulsa's source for local real estate news and information. I'm Daryl Baskin of the Baskin Real Estate Specialists at eXp Realty. Special program today with Brian Franklin of the very famous, world famous Doubleshot Coffee. What's all that story? I'm saying world famous. I can travel, people know about you. An entire documentary made, The Perfect Cappuccino, made about our own Doubleshot Coffee here in town, Brian Franklin. But first, our community spotlight. How about court-appointed special advocates? I was very happy, by the way, if you are into tower gardening, you want to support something nice, but you want to buy something for yourself, towergardens.com. Check it out. Don't go there and buy anything yet, because I had one of my clients who said, Daryl, you have been such a grand ambassador for my tower garden business that, and I bought a bunch of stuff from her. I love my tower gardens. They're my hydroponic gardens. You've seen them.
I have seen them. I know how much you love them, and I've seen how easy it made your gardening.
Well, so
I mean, I slipped by in the summer a few times and snipped a few things for a nice salad.
She sent me a check for $400 to give to CASA. And it was just
Wow.
her earnings from tower garden. She doesn't do it for a living. So if you are into hydroponic gardening and you want that link, I'm going to put it up on my page. I've shared it on Facebook a few times. But it was donated to CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates, which have been on the board for many years. And what many people don't know about CASA, because CASA can't have like a poster child and say, oh, look at all this, here's their story, because it's private. These are things that can't be shared about anyone publicly. And so a lot of people just don't know the story unless you're really connected with somebody from CASA. Court-appointed special advocates are individuals who volunteer their time and they're trained to speak for neglected and abused children in the court system. So when you read in the paper of some abuse or action taken, or you just see that there was some domestic abuse that takes place, what happens to these kids? The parents are no longer there. Maybe they're thrown in jail. Maybe there's suspicion of abuse.
Very scary time for the kids.
They have to go into the system. Well, in the process of going through the system, and the government is like the safety net to keep these things from happening. And so you got to figure out, do they go back to the parents? Were the parents okay? Do they need to be somewhere else? Should they be adopted? What happens? Well, where's the voice for the child in that process? And the court-appointed special advocate, the CASA volunteer, receives training and has a case manager. By the way, if you're intimidated by this thought, imagine how the kid feels. And yet you have somebody to walk through and say, here's the report, this is what the judge is looking for, and you get to provide your insight into this process. And there are lots of times when that CASA's voice for the child is completely turning around a process that would otherwise just, be rubber stamped. Okay, here's another one. We got to get through the system. It's overloaded.
Well, I'm thinking
Social
about
services.
what a frightening experience it is for those kids, and having a volunteer that shows up just to talk to them, maybe explain things to them, someone who's a third party that's not on either side. Very important. And like you said, you get training. So you don't have to worry about not being qualified.
You kind of know what to do when you walk in, and you've got your litmus test of sorts to determine what's appropriate. But as a human being, you know what to do,
You
and
just
that's why
open your
CASA
heart
volunteers
and you
are
listen
for.
to the child. No, it's my favorite. It's my favorite nonprofit around the city.
Things, but it takes someone's time.
When quality and value matter most, choose Window World. Superior service, American-made products, and industry-leading warranties make us the #1 choice for your next home remodel. J.D. Power ranked Window World highest in customer satisfaction with window and patio door retailers. Be proud of your home and take care of it with a brand you can trust. Window World, America's exterior remodeler.
I live in a 100-year-old home. It's a home I fell in love with, and it has so many amazing features. But the one thing it does not have is straight windows. It has windows that are cracked and broken and worn out. I contacted Window World. They came in and put these brand new, amazing, incredibly beautiful windows into my home. From the outside of the house, they match the exterior perfectly. It looks like they've always been here. Now the windows are the jewels in the home. Window World, from the beginning to the end, they met and exceeded every expectation I had. Window World really is simply the best for less.
Feel free to go anywhere you want with it, too, because I don't have a list of questions.
So, Gary, you didn't introduce me. I just started talking.
No, that's fine.
They're probably used to me being there.
I talk a lot, so you'll probably have to
We'll
tell me
interrupt
to
you.
shut up.
That's
Yeah.
how we
I'm going
do
to take
it.
a break at 1:29.
Okay.
Don't forget my open house at Fawnwood Court today.
Okay.
Should be in there.
It should be, yeah.
175.
Well, this is what we do at the Baskin Real Estate Specialists. For clients who need a quick sale,
But I am way behind
the
on
largest pool of investment buyers there is. In order to help
my,
you get the most for your house and still sell fast, don't offer and negotiate with only one investor. It's one of the many ways the Baskin Real Estate Specialists put more options on the table for you. Schedule a 15-minute phone call. Free, no obligation. It could change the future of
Well, do you want me to
your
just run by
business.
this afternoon after I've got signs?
maybe. We'll
Pick
see.
up a
I need to
sign?
take all that stuff. I need to empty my truck at a dumpster, but I don't even know if I'm going to get that done. I had to show houses in the smart car today.
I I can do the open house signs this afternoon, so it would be.
One address, thousands of homes, homeguidetulsa.com. One of those we want you to take a look at is 8624 South Fawnwood Court in Broken Arrow in Indian Springs. Open this weekend.
Sunday.
2 to 4.
2 to 4.
Okay.
But
Open.
you have to know about this house. It's only $175,000, 3-bedroom and an office and a pool on a large lot, corner lot.
It's pre-negotiated. The bank will accept $175,000 on it. That's it.
Yeah. It's a great house for
We just dropped it
$175,000.
$20,000-ish.
Right.
Look at it. Buy it. It's
Well,
real
it's
simple
lovely because you
instructions.
have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a den, an office all by itself, a pool, and a
In-ground
large
pool.
lot. I mean, it's.
It actually works.
Yeah.
This isn't like, when we said bank approved sale, this isn't like one of the normal bank sales where it's like been neglected for
No.
3 years and they've been squatting there.
No, it's
This
been
is-
updated. They updated the bathrooms just before they put it on the market.
Very
It's a lovely
well
home.
cared for.
It's a great opportunity for somebody.
Open tomorrow, 2 to 4, homeguidetulsa.com. I'm Darrell Baskin. You're listening to The Future of Real Estate. Today's program brought to you by TTCU Federal Credit Union, Integrity Title and Abstract, Window World of Tulsa, the Baskin Real Estate Specialists, and Goodman Construction. Our guest in studio today, Brian Franklin, Doubleshot Coffee, and there are several things I want to talk to you about. And what's your favorite part? I'm going to talk about your building. That's what got you in here. I mean, this is a real estate show. But each business in Tulsa, in any community, is contributing to the community in various ways. It's creating their type of culture. You know, people, they're creating a culture, an experience of what you have as a consumer of their product or customer of their business. And they're also, by paying rent for their spot in this city, whether it's a mortgage payment or rent, they are contributing to some sort of building style. And you, at Doubleshot, went from just a little strip mall, which had its own character, not to, okay, we're going to find a nicer strip mall, but literally creating what I call a gift to the city of Tulsa, because you could have just built a metal building, thrown some wood on it to make it look barnish, but you actually relocated a barn. Tell us the story of your building.
We were in this strip mall at 18th and Boston for, 15 years. And when I started the business in 2004, I always wanted it to be an iconic business in Tulsa. I wanted it to be a place that people, when they talked about Tulsa, they'd say, oh, you have to go to the Doubleshot.
Yeah.
And so when I started thinking in 2012 about moving, I had my eye on this land at 17th and Boulder, and had been trying to decide what do I
Which
put
was
there.
just land.
It was vacant, yeah, there was nothing there, it was just a parking lot. And I got together with a friend of mine who was helping me design it, and we went over and over different ideas with shipping containers or putting up a metal building or, any ideas that we could come up with, because I had a budget as well,
Imagine that.
Yeah. So he sent me a picture of a barn that was in Indiana at the time that was owned by the Height family, and he said, why don't we just relocate this and put it back up exactly how it came down, and I thought that was an excellent idea, just based on who I am, how I grew up, and what I feel like the Doubleshot is.
Now,
today.
let me ask you, you moved a barn from Indiana?
We did. They tagged every single beam in the barn with a different color tag and a number, and they took it down, put it on semi-trucks, and brought it here, and then rebuilt it exactly the way it came down.
That's very cool.
It was a big endeavor.
It's new and old at the same time.
Right. Yeah, it has a lot of modern features because, not only did we put that basic structure back up, so when you when you see the barn, the outside of the skin of the barn is the original barn skin that's been sort of updated. But when you walk in, you'll see the original barn timbers, but also we put up white walls, and so it's got, we put a glass atrium on the front, and I bought a lot of old brick that was taken down in Muskogee from a Coca-Cola bottling plant that was built pre-statehood. And we built on a roastery in the back and put some brick accents around the building. So, yeah, it's got a lot of modern features as well as being very rustic.
Very cool.
Solar panels.
Right.
How green is that building?
Almost everything that you see is basically reclaimed. So we're
Except the solar panels.
well, yeah, I claimed those as original. Yeah, and I feel like we're one of the first retail businesses in Tulsa to put solar panels up. And we also put chargers outside for Teslas. We recycle coffee bags. We do a lot of stuff that's sustainable.
So what is, of the solar, how much value do you get out of the solar panels themselves? I mean, sometimes you can spend so much time, so much money on the capability to get it that it doesn't actually produce a savings. Have you reached a savings point yet?
Well, I have an accounting degree, Daryl, so
You figured that out.
I don't make decisions financially that are not going to make money.
And you do really have an accounting.
I really do, yeah. So the solar panels are a big spend up front, and the payout is like over 20 years. So we're paying basically a third of our electric bill every month and recouping that money over 20 years. So it's not a big saving, but I think the idea that it contributes to the green of the building and helping out the environment in whatever way
overall
we can.
sustainability.
Right.
So, what got you into coffee? Like, I'm going to jump ahead and maybe spoil some of you. You lived without electricity and gas for 3 years.
I didn't have solar panels then.
That was pre-solar panel, actually pre-civilization,
Right.
almost.
I was uncivilized.
But you were running Doubleshot, like, broke?
I was broke, yeah.
Because, and this is the Perfect Cappuccino, which is a movie or a documentary you can watch on, I know I watched mine on Prime,
Yeah,
Amazon
it's
Prime.
free on Amazon Prime.
And it really tells an interesting story. Now, today, I love Tulsa. If I travel outside of Tulsa, and I'm like, I ask a local, they're like, well, hey, I'm looking for a really good cup of coffee, like a local, something that's local. They're like, well, we got a Starbucks, and our culture here of microbreweries and coffee roasters has really come together, and you were pre all of that.
Right.
So you were like the visionary fighting the crowd of just a plain old cup of coffee.
When I opened the Doubleshot, it was very difficult because there was already an idea in Tulsa that coffee was a certain thing. And when I learned about coffee myself, I learned that coffee can be excellent on its own. Like, it has these inherent characteristics that come from the terroir, from where it's grown, the elevation, the climate, the way it's processed, the variety of the coffee. It just has all these very unique characteristics that you don't want to mask by flavoring it or putting products in it, milk or sugar. So that was something that I had to kind of start teaching people.
But weren't you kind of misunderstood in the beginning?
Very much.
It's
yeah.
like, I was afraid of you. Like, I would walk in, I'm like, I don't know that I want to talk to that guy because he seems a little intense.
I was intense. I probably still am intense, but you talked about I didn't have any electricity. I didn't have any electricity or hot water. People say I have passion for coffee, and passion, what is it? It's like, you have love and you suffer for something. And I definitely did that. I suffered for the craft of coffee. I didn't have any money, but I wanted to give excellent coffee to Tulsa, to people. And people came in and they didn't understand what I was trying to do, and I felt like
because they just wanted it their way.
Right, yeah.
And they thought you were giving
Burger
bad
King.
Customer service.
Right, they came straight from Burger King to the Doubleshot, and it was like, you don't get it your way at the Doubleshot. You get it the way I say you get it. So,
is it still kind of that way today, though? I never ask for anything other than the way it comes because I like it.
right, and why would you ask for it a different way? I'm a professional. I know better than you. So.
That's what I try to tell people about real estate.
Right.
So, tell us about your podcast. You're doing more than just serving coffee. You've kind of created your following and your message and mission.
Right. I started a podcast in 2005 called Double A Cafe, and it was the first coffee podcast when iTunes picked up podcasts originally.
What year?
2005.
That's interesting because I was the only, to my knowledge, I was the only real estate podcast that showed up in the very beginning. Now you can't, and there are just millions of them, I guess. I
Right.
don't know, but it was interesting.
We started Trends right here from Tulsa. Yeah, so I started the podcast, and originally it was terrible because I didn't know what I was doing. It's probably still not great, but I love doing it. I get to interview different people that are really interesting, and we learn about coffee. It's not always about coffee, but we're always drinking coffee while we do the podcast. I don't know if that counts.
It does.
Yeah.
But you tell people stories. I mean, here, this is supposed to be about real estate.
Yeah.
And you're drinking coffee. You're both drinking coffee, so there you go.
But we kind of veered off the real estate side of it. But it to me, it all ties in, because good businesses demand for product, create a culture, create a need for the space, which then, if you were just serving a plain old nondescript cup of coffee, then there would really be no need for such a cool building.
Right.
Which has changed. Your building has changed the landscape of Tulsa, but specifically that area there, which had kind of like gone dead. There wasn't much there. I mean, you're across the street from the old Oral Roberts Evangelistic Association, which is, there's some challenge as to what to do with that, because it's got asbestos in it, and people don't want to, but it's got history, and they don't want to tear it down, but then what do you do with it, and how much does that cost? And so it was just kind of,
it's an interesting
you drove past
building.
it to go everywhere else.
Yeah. It's. I think the podcast started out as something where I wanted to talk about coffee and educate people about coffee, but I started interviewing so many interesting people at the Doubleshot and around Tulsa that I actually launched a second podcast called Doubleshot Folk, where I interview people like you.
That's what I've seen.
Right, who come into the Doubleshot, and it's a more highly produced podcast where it's like, people telling who they are and when they.
And you produce it right out of your studio there.
I do. My office is now a recording studio.
Yeah, and a nice one. And you can watch from across the gap,
right.
Whatever.
The gap.
From
Between the hay lofts.
Across.
Right.
Well, Doubleshot Coffee, located at
17th and Boulder.
17th and Boulder.
Right.
And there are good bike paths downtown now. They're really starting to show up in all the planning, and we've talked about the accessibility and bike paths in the past, and now we're starting to see all of that work that's been done really show up and make it easy to get around town. And I ride my bike there quite a bit, just to say parking for somebody else.
We have a lot of bike racks outside too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you about this parking deal.
Oh dear.
Well, and I'd like to know more about the documentary.
Okay, we'll talk about that when we come back. You're listening to The Future of Real Estate, Tulsa source for local real estate news and information. But guess what? Pamela is going to tell us about the value of earnest money, the good and the bad,
The
which
good
you
and the
need to
bad.
know
Yeah.
after this.
I live in a 100-year-old home. It's a home I fell in love with, and it has so many amazing features. But the one thing it does not have is straight windows. It has windows that are cracked and broken and worn out. I contacted Window World. They came in and put these brand new, amazing, incredibly beautiful windows into my home. From the outside of the house, they match the exterior perfectly. It looks like they've always been here. Now the windows are the jewels in the home. Window World, from the beginning to the end, they met and exceeded every expectation I had. Window World really is simply the best for less.
When quality and value matter most, choose Window World. Superior service, American-made products, and industry-leading warranties make us the #1. J.D. Power ranked Window World highest in customer satisfaction with window and patio door retailers. Be proud of your home and take care of it with a brand you can trust. Window World, America's exterior remodeler.